The Senate will come to order. I ask everyone to please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Rabbi Baruch Melman of Temple Beth El of Manhattan Beach in Brooklyn will deliver today's invocation. Rabbi.
Dear friends, I'm truly honored to be here this morning to give the opening blessing. I want to give a deep shout out of appreciation for State Senator Jessica Scarcella Spanton and her wonderful staff for nominating me for this great honor. She is a tremendous senator, representing Staten Island and South Brooklyn, also affectionately known as Sobro, where I live. I share this great honor with my synagogue, Temple Beth El of Manhattan Beach, Brooklyn, one of the largest and historic and famous synagogues of South Brooklyn. Both Neil Sedaka and Neil Diamond were bar mitzvahed at my synagogue, showing off their early singing voices not too many years ago. Our members have a long history of community activism, political engagement, and deep commitment to the American values, which are the pride and glory of our great nation. Speaking as a Jew and as a rabbi, as a Jewish rabbi, it is my sacred duty to call attention to the serious tear in the fabric of Jewish life, of American Jewish life. In the words of our first president, George Washington, written on the 18th of August, 1790, to the Hebrew congregation, Newport, Rhode Island, and I quote, "It is now no more the toleration is spoken of, as if it was by the indulgence of one class of people that another enjoyed the exercise of their inherent natural rights. For happily, the government of the United States, which gives to bigotry no sanction, to persecution no assistance, requires only that they who live under its protection should demean themselves as good citizens, in giving it on all occasions their effectual support. It would be inconsistent with the frankness of my character," the president says, "not to avow that I am pleased with your favorable opinion of my administration and fervent wishes for my felicity. May the children of the stock of Abraham who dwell in this land continue to merit and enjoy the goodwill of the other inhabitants, while everyone shall sit in safety under his own vine and fig tree, and there shall be none to make him afraid." I ask you here today, what would our first president have to say about how the stock of Abraham 250 years later is feeling right now? Just in the past year alone, the Anti-Defamation League recorded 9,354 anti-Semitic incidents across the United States, the highest number since they started tracking such incidents in 1979. Over 6,000 harassment incidents, over 2,600 vandalism incidents, and 250 physical assault incidents. And I myself, as a community leader, received nightly recorded death threats for 15 months since October 2023, untraceable, according to the FBI. And I got them every night until January of this year. And just last week, we were all horrified to see a serious escalation when 2 young staffers of the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. were shot to death while leaving the Capitol Jewish Museum. And let us not forget that May, this month, is American Jewish Heritage Month. What happened last week needs to be a wake-up call for all Americans. Today, in America, and certainly in New York, every synagogue, every JCC, every Jewish school has armed guards at their doors to prevent repeats of the Pittsburgh Tree of Life Synagogue massacre of 2017. When we tolerate and stand silently when mobs march and wave flags of terrorist groups that call for the deaths of all Jews, the flags of Hezbollah and Hamas, which is a terrorist organization that vows in their charter to kill every Jew, starting with Israel. And then we now have a homegrown American be inspired to take a gun and commit murder in the name of globalizing the Intifada, in the name of those who on October 7th invaded Israel and murdered 1,200 Jews, burning families alive, beheading children in front of their parents, parents in front of their children, slaughtering teenagers at a music festival, committing mass rape and kidnapping 250 hostages and starving them and locking them in tiny cages too small to even stand up in. My friends, something is deeply wrong in America today. We have lost our way. This tolerance of bigotry must stop, both from the right and from the left. Governor Josh Shapiro's house in Pennsylvania was set on fire last month with his family sleeping inside the night of their Passover Seder. And today we are facing new blood libels as vicious as any in the Middle Ages. As Americans, this bigotry is not who we are. This country can and must do better. Remember, what starts with the Jews never ends with the Jews. So I will now close my remarks with the blessing that I came to give to this august body. Quoting the words of our first president, George Washington, who in turn himself was quoting from the ancient prophets of Israel. May we give to bigotry no sanction, to persecution no assistance, and may all of us, both Jewish Americans and all Americans, enjoy the goodwill of the other inhabitants, while everyone shall sit in safety under his own vine and fig tree, and there shall be none to make him afraid. And let us say, Amen. Thank you.
Reading of the journal.
In Senate, Wednesday, May 28, 2025, the Senate met pursuant to adjournment. The Journal of Tuesday, May 27, 2025 is read and approved. On motion, the Senate adjourned.
Without objection, the journal stands approved as read. Presentation of petitions, messages from the Assembly. Secretary will read.
Senator Fahey moves to discharge from the Committee on Cultural Affairs, Tourism, Parks and Recreation, Assembly Bill number 1914, is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 4722A, third reading calendar 664. Senator Adabo moves to discharge from the Committee on Insurance, Assembly Bill number 1195A, is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 2000A, third reading calendar 235.
So ordered. Messages from the Governor, reports of standing committees, reports of select committees, communications and reports from state officers, motions and resolutions. Senator Gianaris.
Good morning, Madam President. On behalf of Senator Hinchey, on page 60, I offer the following amendments to calendar 1100, Senate Print 7328, and ask that said bill retain its place on the third reading calendar.
The amendments are received and the bill will retain its place on the third reading calendar. Senator Gianaris.
I want to take a moment to remind all my colleagues that when they invite clergy, please notify them that the prayer is supposed to be a prayer and not a speech. It is not intended to be part of the political discourse in this body. Thank you. Moving on to resolutions and introductions, we're going to simultaneously call a meeting of the Rules Committee in the Majority Conference Room and take up previously adopted resolutions 525, 526, 598, and 599, all by Senator Ashby as one. Please call up those resolutions, read their titles, and recognize Senator Ashby, please.
There'll be an immediate meeting of the Rules Committee in room 332. The Secretary will read.
Resolution 525 by Senator Ashby, congratulating Isabella Saturnino upon the occasion of capturing the New York State Public High School Athletic Association Girls Wrestling Championship in the 138-pound weight class, on February 27, 2025. Resolution 526 by Senator Ashby, congratulating Maya Kelly, Caitlin Boguski, Molly Simmons, and Ava Weiss upon the occasion of capturing the New York State Public High School Athletic Association Championship in the 4x400 relay on March 8, 2025. Resolution 598 by Senator Ashby, congratulating student athlete Ava Bakhta upon the occasion of winning the 2025 New York State Public High School Athletic Association State Championship in the slalom and alpine combined. Resolution 599 by Senator Ashby, congratulating the Shaker High School boys basketball team upon the occasion of capturing the New York State Public High School Athletic Association Class AAA Championship on March 21, 2025.
Senator Ashby on all the resolutions, I believe.
Thank you, Madam President. We certainly have a lot going on in the 43rd Senate District today. And as my niece would say, we did that by purpose. So I want to thank all of the athletes and their parents for being here today. And we're going to start with wrestling champion Isabella Satellino, 42-0. First wrestler in school history to finish the season undefeated. Joining her in the gallery today is her coach, Mike Marriage, her dad and assistant coach, Tim Satellino, and athletic director, Ryan Jones. Also from Columbia High School in East Greenbush is the girls 4x400 track relay team. They have a new school record, 3 minutes and 54 seconds. And again, a new school record and only one senior. So I'm sure that they're going to be back again next year. Joining them in the gallery are their coaches, Zach Iannone, Ashley Gansel, and athletic director Ryan Jones. And also Molly's parents, Aaron and Michael, Caitlin's parents, Jason and Kathleen, Maya's parents, Brian and Jody, and Ava's parents, Nicole and Dave. Moving on to Shaker and North Colony, girls skiing champion and the slalom and alpine combined, Ava Bakhta, a 4.0 student in all honors classes and only a sophomore as a state champion. Ava is joined by her mother, Kim, and athletic director Sean Colfer. And last but not least, the North Colony Shaker High boys basketball champion. First time in program history that the boys are state champions. They are Ty Mariano, Vincent Milano, Ryan Church, Samuel Rayburn, Devon Evans, Kieran Casey, Patrick Hartman, Brandon McCoy, Anthony Taligi, Kwame Boachai, Marcelin Mukendi, Melvin Brown, and Bless Demand. They are joined by coaches Eric Kuchel, Brian Hooks, Austin Kendrick, Matt Plew, athletic director Sean Colfer, and legendary coach Vince Medici, who also coached me at Hudson Valley Community College. Madam President, please welcome all of these outstanding athletes, their parents, their coaches, and offer them all the privileges of the House.
Thank you, Senator Ashby. We congratulate all of you and welcome you to the Senate. Isabella Satellino, Maya Kelly, Caitlin Boguki, I hope I pronounced that right, Molly Simmons and Ava Weiss, Ava Bakhta, the North Colony Shaker High School boys basketball team. We congratulate you on your extraordinary accomplishments. You are welcome to the privileges and courtesies of this House. Please rise and be recognized. Senator Serrano.
Please take a previously adopted Resolution 741 by Senator Tedisco. Please read that resolution title only and call on Senator Tedisco.
The Secretary will read.
Resolution 741 by Senator Tedisco congratulating Shayla Byrne of South Glens Falls High School upon the occasion of capturing the 2025 New York State Public High School Athletic Association Girls Giant Slalom Championship on February 24, 2025.
Senator Tedisco on the resolution.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I'm pleased to welcome Shayla Byrne, an outstanding skier from South Glens Falls School, to the chamber today. Shayla Byrne captured the 2025 New York State Girls Giant Slalom Championship on February 24th, 2025 at Gore Mountain in North Creek. Shayla's victory capped off a spectacular season, being the only skier to break the 1-minute barrier in both runs of the girls' giant slalom, unheard of. Posting times of 59.74 seconds in the opening run and 57.32 seconds in the second, generating a combined time of 1 minute, 57.06 seconds. Her time of 1:57.06 was nearly 2.24 seconds ahead of her closest competitor, which is significantly margin larger margin than the sport of skiing. Unheard of. In light of her recent accomplishments, Shayla was recognized by the Times Union as being named a first-team All-Star, but her success extends beyond just the ski slopes. Shayla has weighted grade point average of 97.83, has received an RIT Women's in STEM Award, and is also an accomplished lacrosse player. She will play this fall at Grove City College, where she will double major in international business and supply chain management. The South Glens Falls District has a great athletic director with great coaches who are unfortunately unable to be here today. But I want to say this. While coaching plays a vital role in the success of an athlete, Shayla is joined in the gallery by perhaps the greatest support system any champion can have, her loving and supportive family, her mother, Lanisha, father, David, and her sister, Shandi. Madam President, please welcome and offer all the cordialities of this God's body to Shayla and her outstanding family, and we wish her well in the future. Shayla Byrne.
Thank you, Senator Tedisco. To Shayla Byrne for your extraordinary accomplishments, and to your family for all your support and your coaches. We welcome you to the Senate. We extend to you the privileges and courtesies of the House. We're so proud of all you have achieved. Please rise and be recognized. Senator Serrano.
At this time, we'll stand at ease briefly.
The Senate will stand at ease. The Senate will return to order. Senator Gianaris.
Thank you, Madam President. I believe there's a report of the Finance Committee at the desk. Let's take that up, please. And it's recognized Senator Kruger.
The Secretary will read.
Senator Kruger from the Committee on Finance reports the following nominations: as Commissioner of the Division of Human Rights, Denise Miranda; as Member of the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York, Lisa Gomez; as Member and Chair of the State of New York Mortgage Agency, Stephen Weiss; as Member of the Ogdensburg Bridge and Port Authority, David King; as Member of the Genesee State Park, Recreation and Historic Preservation Commission, Anne Marie Sapienza; as members of the State Board for Historic Preservation, Douglas Pirelli, Felicia Mayrow, Ruth A. Pierpont; as member of the State Council on the Arts, Michelle Ebanks; as member of the Taconic State Park, Recreation and Historic Preservation Commission, Jean Metler; as member of the Thousand Island State Park, Recreation and Historic Preservation Commission, Rebecca Hopfinger; as member of the Council on Human Blood and Transfusion Services, Jessica Jacobson; as members of the Health Equity Council, Orlando Thomas and Guillermo Chacon.
Finance Committee.
All those in favor of accepting the report of the Finance Committee, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The report of the Finance Committee is accepted. Excuse me, there's one more, or a few more.
As Commissioners of the State Liquor Authority, Edgar De Leon, John Mayer; as member of the Board of Real Property Tax Services, David Moog; and as member of the Board of Visitors and Capital District Psychiatric Center, Christine Darby King.
I move to accept that one as well, Madam President, and recognize Senator Kruger.
All those in favor of accepting the entire report of the Finance Committee, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The report of the Finance Committee is accepted. Senator Kruger on the nominations.
Thank you, Madam President. So as we start towards the end of session every year, we find ourselves with nominations coming through from the governor that have to go through a full vetting process and then review by the appropriate committees based on the topic, and then the Finance Committee. So while we spend not that much time on the floor of the Senate with these nominations, in fact, there's an extensive process that people go through before they get to this point to be on the floor to be confirmed by the full Senate. And we just heard a very long list. And again, I always think it's important to realize many New Yorkers don't even know how many different authorities and agencies have advisory boards or boards of directors or unpaid people who commit significant portions of their lives to represent what they believe are the best interests of New Yorkers. And they do this because they are committed to public service and they want to use their area of expertise from their private lives to give back to the state, and we should never forget how important that is to citizenship, to democracy, to making sure that people are participating in all kinds of ways in making sure our government is doing the best we can and holding us accountable. So we just heard the whole list. Some of these people are re-upping for another term. Some of them are new. So I want to thank the governor, but really I want to thank those people for selflessly committing their time and efforts, even without pay or for a minimum per diem reimbursement, to doing this work. But I will highlight, as often is the case, the one person before us today who is here, who is being nominated, and I believe confirmed, to be the Commissioner of the Division of Human Rights, Denise Miranda. Denise came through the Finance Committee the other day. She's not new to us. She has worked in public service and in state government and in local government for many years. And she has done, I believe, an extraordinary job in each of the positions she took. Some of us got to know her first when she was working running the Justice Center, which is truly one of the more challenging agencies in the state. But now, for the last, I think, 14 months, she has been the acting commissioner for the Division of Human Rights. And for people who may not know about the Division of Human Rights, you only get to know it when something's gone wrong and you need to get help. So if everything's going fine and nobody's violating your human rights, you might not even know this division exists. But if something goes wrong and you believe that you have been wronged and your fundamental human rights as defined in our Constitution have been violated, we have a state agency that you can go to and file complaints and have investigations and hopefully get resolution that can, if not always reversing the injustice.
Excuse me 1 minute, Senator Cruz. Can we have order? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. So even if in many cases you can't reverse the injustice, you can get, so to speak, your day to be heard and resolution of the fact that you were wronged. And of course, hopefully, and one of the reasons why laws are so important and government agencies are so important and our Constitution is so important, to tell everyone else, don't try it again, because it's not okay. And the best model, frankly, of a fair and equal society is when people understand there are lines and you're not allowed to cross them. And when you cross them and violate someone's human rights, we're going to try to do something about it and try to protect the rest of us from never having to go through that. So I'm very proud to be able to stand here and urge my colleagues to vote for Denise Miranda and the full list that we just heard presented to us. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Krueger. Senator Bailey on the resolution.
Thank you, Madam President. I echo the sentiments of Senator Krueger. I thank the governor for her nominations on all of the individuals who have appeared, but especially Commissioner Denise Miranda. It is great to be able to have good people doing extraordinary things, but it's even better when they're your constituents. To her, her husband Darrell, and her daughter Sophia, they're constituents, but most importantly, they are hardworking individuals who are actually in the fabric of the community. And as Senator Krueger mentioned, the Division of Human Rights is one of those things like insurance. As the insurance chair, I can tell you a little bit about it now, that you don't realize how much you need it until you don't have it. You don't realize how bad discrimination can be, how virulent it can be until it happens to you. And then when it happens to you, what? What happens? You need someone who's going to be able to defend you fervently from a state perspective, and we have that person in Commissioner Denise Miranda. I initially met her when I was working for Speaker Hastie, and she walked in the office and spoke to everybody. Sometimes when people come in for meetings, especially with the Speaker of the Assembly, they don't speak to everybody in the room. She made it a point to speak to every single person that was in the room, regardless of what their title was or not. That is a person, in my opinion. You can glean big things from small interactions. And from that, this was the kind of person that should be around these types of things. And so since her time with the Justice Center, she's moved on here. And now as the commissioner, as the interim commissioner, she's been doing positive things. But I think she'll continue to do great things as the commissioner. Commissioner, congratulations to you and to your family. We look forward to continued greatness, and we thank the governor for the nomination. I will be voting aye.
Thank you, Senator Bailey. Senator Murray on the resolution.
Thank you, Madam President. So here we are again. I mean, yesterday was great. We did it right. We had one nominee, we had one vote, and we were able to vote on the merits of that one nominee. So I'm going to use Senator Krueger's example. And you're right, the Department of Human Rights is extremely important, and you do need them when you have a case or a situation where you need help. Now imagine you took your case to the Division of Human Rights, and you told your position, you told everything, and they said, well, we're not going to make a ruling, we're not going to decide on this until we have 18 cases, and then we'll rule and we'll vote on up or down on what, yes or no, whether your case has merit. That sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? You'd want your case based on the merit. That's what I'd like here. We're voting on positions that are important. In fact, I got to tell you, if we were doing individual votes, Mr. Maya and Mr. De Leon, I'd vote yes all day long. I've had great interactions with the Liquor Authority, and my office has had great communication back and forth, but we're not voting on them individually. We're voting on 18 different positions, 18 different, you got Division of Human Rights, you got Sony May, Ogdensburg Bridge and Port Authority, State Board of Historic Preservation, State Council on the Arts. I mean, what do they have in common other than this vote? I think it's absurd. We can vote and have individual resolutions, individual bills, individual everything, but we're going to vote on 18 different positions with one up or down vote. I think we're doing a disservice to the state, the disservice to the people of New York, and quite frankly, a disservice to every one of these nominees who deserve to have their individual case heard and voted on. So for that reason, I'll again be voting no.
Thank you, Senator Murray. The question is on the nominations. Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Sewell-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to the nominations, voted in the negative are Senators Murray, Rhodes, and White. Ayes 53, nays 3.
The nominees are confirmed. Congratulations, Commissioner Miranda. Senator Gianaris.
Madam President, if we could return momentarily to the resolutions we took up today, I think the sponsors would like to open them for co-sponsorship.
The resolutions are open for co-sponsorship. Should you choose not to be a co-sponsor, please notify the desk. Senator Gianaris.
There's a report of the Rules Committee at the desk. Let's take that up now, please.
The Secretary will read.
Senator Stewart-Cousins from the Committee on Rules reports the following bills. Senate Print 31 by Senator Comrie, enactment to amend the Public Authorities Law. Senate Print 56B by Senator Fernandez, enactment of the Public Health Law. Senate Print 180A by Senator Prasad, enactment of the Social Services Law. Senate Print 244 by Senator Prasad, an act establishing the Fiscal Cliff Task Force. Senate Print 247 by Senator Prasad, enactment of the Education Law. Senate Print 416 by Senator Gianaris, enactment of the Executive Law. Senate Print 520 by Senator Prasad, enactment of the Public Health Law. Senate Print 680 by Senator Martinez, enactment of the Executive Law. Senate Print 983 by Senator Rollison, enactment of Chapter 455 of the Laws of 2011. Senate Print 1063 by Senator Serrano, enactment of the Education Law. Senate Print 1072 by Senator Serrano, enactment of the Education Law. Senate Print 1148 by Senator Gonzalez, enactment of the Tax Law. Senate Print 1171 by Senator Matera, enactment of the Environmental Conservation Law. Senate Print 1197 by Senator Addabbo, enactment of the Social Services Law. Senate Print 1200 by Senator Addabbo, enactment of the Education Law. Senate Print 1366 by Senator Serrano, enactment of the Mental Hygiene Law. Senate Print 1398A by Senator S. Ryan, enactment of the Private Housing Finance Law. Senate Print 1399A by Senator S. Ryan, enactment of the Private Housing Finance Law. Senate Print 1465 by Senator Serrano, enactment of the Social Services Law. Senate Print 1477 by Senator Krueger, enactment of the Judiciary Law. Senate Print 2046 by Senator Webb, enactment of the Education Law. Senate Print 2278 by Senator Webb, enactment of the Public Health Law. Senate Print 2648 by Senator Addabbo, enactment of the Insurance Law. Senate Print 3157 by Senator May, enactment of the Education Law. Senate Print 3278 by Senator Brooke, enactment of the Education Law. Senate Print 3334 by Senator Liu, an act to amend the education law. Senate Print 3398 by Senator Grenardez, an act to amend the executive law. Senate Print 3416D by Senator Fernandez, an act to amend the public health law. Senate Print 3883A by Senator Hinchey, an act to amend the public health law. Senate Print 3886 by Senator Gianaris, an act to amend the administrative code of the City of New York. Senate Print 4158 by Senator Kruger, an act to amend the public service law. Senate Print 4641A by Senator S. Ryan, an act to amend the labor law. Senate Print 4776 by Senator C. Ryan, an act to amend the penal law. Senate Print 4929 by Senator Brooke, an act to amend the social services law. Senate Print 5220 by Senator Weber, an act to amend the real property tax law. Senate Print 5221 by Senator Weber, an act to amend the real property tax law. Senate Print 5228 by Senator Bailey, an act to amend the executive law. Senate Print 5339 by Senator Fahey, an act to amend the public health law. Senate Print 5407 by Senator Harkam, an act to amend the mental hygiene law. Senate Print 5538 by Senator Baskin, an act to amend the public health law. Senate Print 5685 by Senator Lanza, an act to amend Chapter 395 of the laws of 1978. Senate Print 6232 by Senator Webb, an act to amend the public health law. Senate Print 6717 by Senator Bailey, an act to amend the public health law. Senate Print 6735A by Senator Fahey, an act to amend the criminal procedure law. Senate Print 6997A by Senator C. Ryan, an act to amend the public service law. Senate Print 7203 by Senator Kruger, an act to amend the state finance law. Senate Print 7224 by Senator Prasad, an act to amend the social services law. Senate Print 7315 by Senator Hinchey, an act to amend the social services law. Senate Print 7546 by Senator Brooke, an act to amend the criminal procedure law. Senate Print 7555A by Senator White, an act to amend Chapter 187 of the laws of 1960. Senate Print 7622 by Senator Brooke, an act to amend Chapter 230 of the laws of 2022. Senate Print 7967 by Senator Canzoneri Fitzpatrick, an act to amend Chapter 672 of the laws of 1993. All bills report to third reading.
In favor of accepting the report of the Rules Committee, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The report of the Rules Committee is accepted. Senator Gianaris.
The calendar? Can we move on to take up the calendar, please?
Secretary will read.
Calendar number 109, Senate Print 518A by Senator Prasad, an act to amend the executive law.
Read the last section.
Section 7, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 109, voted in the negative are Senators Borrello, Chan, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Lanza, Obaracker, O'Mara, Ort, Rhodes, Steck, Walzig, and White. Ayes 43, nays 13.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 230, Senate Print 51 by Senator Comrie, an act to amend the vehicle and traffic law.
Read the last section.
Section 4, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 230, voted in the negative, Senator Walzig. Ayes 55, nays 1.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 235, Assembly number 1195A by Assembly Member People Stokes, an act to amend the insurance law.
Read the last section.
Section 4, this act shall take effect January 1st, 2027.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 56.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 320, Senate Print 4153A by Senator Sanders, an act to amend the general business law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 120th day, it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Senator Sanders to explain his vote.
Thank you, Madam President. Imagine a good New York family goes into a restaurant to have a nice Sunday dinner. They enjoy themselves. When the bill comes, they take out American cash, hand it to them, and get it thrown back in their face talking about we don't accept American currency in America. They say, I'm sorry, this is the currency of the land. No, but we'll accept a foreign credit card, but not American money. Not anymore. By this action, the state Senate is sending a message that American currency is good in the state of New York. And as long as it's the currency of the land, it should be accepted at every store in the land. I thank all those who understood that and voted for it, and I encourage those who didn't. May they never have the opportunity to be turned down with American currency. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Senator Sanders to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 320, voted in the negative are Senators Gallivan, Steck, and Walzek. Ayes 53, nays 3.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 331, Senate Print 4046 by Senator Harkam, enacting the Environmental Conservation Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Hey, yeah, we're not gonna wait aside. Is someone gonna debate? Oh, we still. Yeah.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 331, voted in the negative are Senators Ashby, Borrello, Chan, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Lanza, Matera, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, C. Ryan, Steck, Tedisco, Walzek, Weber, and White. Ayes 39, nays 17.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 349, Senate Print 3660 by Senator Horman Siegel, enacting the Family Court Act.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 90th day and shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 349, voted in the negative are Senators Ashby, Borrello, Chan, Griffo, Matera, Murray, Oberacker, O'Mara, Rhodes, Rawson, Steck, Tedisco, Walzek, Weber, and White. Ayes 41, nays 15.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 664, Assembly number 1914 by Assembly Member Paulin, enacting the Arts and Cultural Affairs Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 180th day, it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 664, voted in the negative are Senators Borrello, Chan, Gallivan, Griffo, Lanza, O'Mara, Rhodes, Skoufis, Steck, Tedisco, Walzek, and White. Ayes 44, nays 12.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 714, Senate Print 3759 by Senator Clear, enacting the Elder Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 56.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 751, Senate Print 1946 by Senator Rivera, enacting the Criminal Procedure Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 180th day, and it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 751, voted in the negative are Senators Ashby, Borrello, Chan, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Lanza, Martinez, Matera, Murray, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rhodes, Rawson, Steck, Tedisco, Walzek, Weber, and White. Ayes 36, nays 20.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 982, Senate Print 1763A by Senator Fernandez, enacting the insurance law.
Read the last section.
Section 4, this act shall take effect on the 1st of January.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Senator Fernandez to explain her vote.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm proud to sponsor this legislation that places a $250 cap on out-of-pocket costs for outpatient substance use disorder treatment. For individuals in recovery, especially those in outpatient programs, care often requires showing up multiple times a week. Each visit can bring a new copay, and over time, these costs add up. In some cases, they become a reason for them to stop going. This bill helps to prevent that. It ensures that seeking help does not come with a financial penalty for consistency. It supports the idea that treatment should be available, sustainable, and grounded in public health, not in financial strain. This is a practical step and a meaningful one. It reflects our recognition that recovery is a process and that our system should be structured to support people as they move forward and not push them back. I urge my colleagues to support this bill, and I vote aye.
Senator Fernandez to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 982, voted in the negative are Senators Gallivan, Griffo, and Ort. Ayes 53, nays 3.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1023, Senate Print 4039A by Senator Skoufis, enactment of the Public Officers Law.
Read the last section.
Section 5, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Swift White.
Announce the results.
In relation to
Bless you.
calendar 1023, voted in the negative are Senators Borrello, Chan, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Lanza, Matera, Murray, Obraca, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rose, Ross, and Steck, Tedisco, Walzett, Weber, and White. Ayes 37, nays 19.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1105, Senate Print 2598 by Senator Mayer, enactment of the General Municipal Law.
Read the last section.
Section 8, this act shall take effect on the 1st of January.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1105, voting in the negative, Senator Walzett. Ayes 55, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1116, Senate Print 4478 by Senator Ramos, enactment of the Labor Law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect on the 60th day and shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell White.
Announce results.
In relation to calendar 1116, voted in the negative, Senator Borrello. Ayes 55, nays 1.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1118, Senate Print 4519 by Senator Ramos, enactment of the Labor Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1118, voted in the negative, Senator Walzett. Ayes 55, nays 1.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1120, Senate Print 5159 by Senator Comrie, enactment of the Agriculture and Markets Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1120, voted in the negative, Senator Walzett. Ayes 55, nays 1.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1148, Senate Print 4075 by Senator Scarcella Spanton, an act in relation to authorizing the Silver Lake Foundation Incorporated to receive retroactive real property tax exempt status.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1148, voted in the negative, Senator O'Mara. Ayes 55, nays 1.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1149, Senate Print 4464 by Senator Mayer, enactment of the General Municipal Law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect on the 180th day and shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1149, voted in the negative are Senators Ashby, Borrello, Gallivan, Griffo, Murray, Obraca, O'Mara, Ort, Steck, Walzett, and White. Ayes 45, nays 11.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1153, Senate Print 6009 by Senator Baskin, enactment of the General Municipal Law.
The bill is laid aside for the day.
Calendar number 1178, Senate Print 6759 by Senator Fernandez, enactment of the Education Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart White.
Senator Fernandez to explain her vote.
Madam President, I again, proudly supports this legislation that expands access to preventative dental care by allowing parents and legal guardians to apply fluoride varnish to their child's teeth under the direction of a licensed practitioner. Tooth decay remains one of the most common and most overlooked health conditions affecting children. It has been called a hidden epidemic because its impacts often go unnoticed until the pain becomes severe or until a child can't sleep, can't eat, and can't focus in school. The bill is about reaching children before it gets to that point. We know fluoride varnish works, it's safe, it's effective, and it takes less than 2 minutes to apply. But despite its simplicity, access remains uneven, especially for families facing barriers like transportation, time off work, or limited provider availability. By giving families the option to apply fluoride varnish at home under clinical supervision, we remove unnecessary hurdles while maintaining professional oversight. We help prevent disease rather than respond to crisis. This legislation moves us forward towards a system where more children can receive the care they need when they need it. I want to thank the Schuyler Center for Analysis and Advocacy for their work on this issue, and for Bridget Walsh, who is here today with the center, and I proudly vote aye.
Senator Fernandez to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1178, voted in the negative are Senators Griffo and White. Ayes 54, nays 2.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1223, Senate Press 6750 by Senator Webb, enactment of the Retirement and Social Security Law.
Read the last section.
Section 8, this act shall take effect on the 180th day. It shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gennaro Squigga, Ort, Sewell-Cuttings White.
Senator Webb to explain her vote.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise to explain my vote. This legislation quite simply gives power to state or city retirees, gives power back to these individuals who are survivors of domestic violence by allowing them to make critical changes to their retirement benefits if their designated beneficiary has been convicted of a family offense. Under current law, once a retired member elects a beneficiary for their pension option, that designation is locked in for life. We know that life isn't always predictable, and sometimes life includes harm at the hands of someone you once trusted. This bill addresses a serious and often overlooked injustice. It allows retirees to revoke pension benefits from a beneficiary who has been convicted of a family offense, including domestic violence. No one who has inflicted harm through abuse should continue to benefit from the retirement security of the person that they harmed. This legislation restores justice and gives survivors the power to protect their financial future. Madam President, retirees will now have the opportunity to change their beneficiary or pension option in these circumstances. This is a necessary step to bring our laws in line with our values, protecting survivors, correcting injustices, and giving people the chance to reclaim control over their futures. This legislation brings fairness and compassion to our retirement system, and it empowers survivors and ensures that those convicted of abuse do not profit from their victims. I want to thank my Assembly sponsor on this bill, Assemblymember Reyes, and my colleagues. I vote aye, and I encourage you all to do the same. Thank you.
Senator Webb to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
Ayes 56.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1232, Senate Print 4672A by Senator Jackson, enactment of the Highway Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 90th day. It shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gennaro Squigga, Ort, Sewell-Cuttings White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1232, voted in the negative, Senator Walzek. Ayes 55, nays 1.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1248, Senate Print 611A by Senator Stavisky, enactment of the Criminal Procedure Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gennaro Squigga, Ort, Sewell-Cuttings White.
Senator Murray to explain his vote.
Madam President, I just want to rise to thank the sponsor sincerely for this. You know, many times victims of crimes in New York State feel victimized again when they feel like they don't have a voice. In this case, changing this, when there is a vehicle traffic offense involving injury, involving an accident, many times they're charged with a felony, but if it gets pled down to a misdemeanor, the victims no longer have a voice. They're not allowed to address the court. This changes that, and I think it's very, very important because many times, as I said, when the accident occurred, they did nothing wrong. Their life could be changed forever, and they just, as part of the healing process, want to be heard. And not allowing them just makes the pain even more. So changing this, I commend the sponsor, Senator Stavisky. Thank you for doing this. You're giving voice to the victims. It's very, very important. I proudly vote yes.
Senator Murray to record in the affirmative. Senator Stavisky to explain her vote.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Senator, for your kind words. This is a bill where survivors can speak out. And that, I believe, is very important, to have a voice for survivors. So I vote aye. Thank you.
Senator Stavisky to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
Ayes 56.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1250, Senate Print 2398 by Senator Prasad, enactment of civil rights law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this action take effect on the 90th day, shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Dabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1250, voted in the negative are Senators Ashby, Helming, Matera, Murray, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rhodes, Steck, Walzett, Webbert, and White. Ayes 44, nays 12.
The bill is passed. Senator Gianaris, that completes the reading of today's calendar.
Thank you, Madam President. Returning to motions for a moment, on behalf of Senator Hartgum, I offer the following amendments to Calendar 1493, Senate Print 5407, and ask that said bill retain its place on the third reading calendar.
The amendments are received and the bill will retain its place on the third reading calendar. Senator Gianaris.
Is there any further business at the desk?
There is no further business at the
I
desk.
move to adjourn until Wednesday, June 4th at 3 p.m. with the intervening days being legislative.
A motion, the Senate stands adjourned until Wednesday, June 4th at 3 p.m. with the intervening days being legislative days.